Hey guys, and it's Chris back here again with another episode of MTG Brawl. Today we will be playing a Yasharn deck. Yasharn specifically around taxing. We're going to keep this opening hand off the power of Once Upon a Time. Destructive Mastery. It's a little ambitious for this hand, but at the very least, Once Upon a Time will get us a white source, so that'll get us to Yasharn, which will get us another white source, and then we can start getting on our tax plan. So the two basic plans of this deck are play a bunch of creatures that disrupt our opponent's game plan, or have particularly powerful effects, and then our secondary plan is just to blow up the board a bunch. They might seem like they compete in some aspects, but generally some of our tax pieces aren't non-symmetrical. Non-symmetrical tax effects tend to be the best for just overall power level for your deck, but some of our Strixhaven ones aren't quite there. Don't recall if our Kaldheim ones affect both players, but they might not. Either way, we have a plan. Is to get our creatures down, and then profit off of our creatures' weird/unique effects. Spellbinder is actually a good pickup for this hand. I don't think we'll play it yet. I think we're going to go Toski here. Opponent seems to have some kind of mill package going. Teferi's Tutelage at least points in that direction. Although the Calyx in the yard might mean they have a larger enchantment lead than we're seeing on the board at the moment. Sanctum of All means they're probably a Shrine deck, which means they are a much larger enchantment package than we thought. Although we do get our fourth planes here. So Destructive Mastery here could actually just tip the game in our favor. Unfortunately, in this matchup, all of our other Wrath are just not worth having around. So we keep our two planes to get to where we need to be. Don't really know what our opponents got in their hand, I guess would be the way of saying it. I guess we could Elite Spellbinder to figure out what's in the hand, but it doesn't seem. Eldritch Epiphany means that they're going to have a few more cards in hand. That gets them another free shrine. Card draw shrine's pretty decent with a tutelage on the field. The Sanctum is slowly draining us. Sanctum of Fangs. So we are under siege here on several points. There's a lot of cards milled. Chromatic Orrery goes down. We are hard on the non-creature permanents. Which is really good if we can get up to Destructive Mastery, but I don't know if we can in time. Thinking back on it, I have to think. I don't know if we had a window where we had a plains and a forest in hand and we played a forest instead of a plains. I don't think we did. But if that was the case, it puts off our Destructive Mastery by one turn, with which the ECD down, not great for us. So we leave Spellbinder here just to make sure the coast is clear. Being that this is an enchantment deck, I didn't think they'd be running counter spells, but there are a couple of odd things like Ashiok's Eraser and a couple of enchantment creatures that benefit off of playing spells during other players' turns, so they could be playing some assortment of those type of effects, and if so, counter spells could be possible. Although, opponent seems rather rather fair with their tap out strategies. But of course, when you have Teferi's Tutelage going and your opponent has 14 cards in library, you don't really need to get too fancy to win the game at that point. Hey, we have one of those. Fortunately, against our opponent, it does nothing. Against us, it's pretty bad. Kraken comes down. Unfortunately for us here, we can't survive putting off our destructive Mastery another turn, which means we have to play it for the 4 mana cost as opposed to the 6 mana cost, which both of which get taxed by 2, but we would have played it for its base cost. We would have eliminated everything on their board except for the mana rock, and that would have stabilized for us. In fact, that probably would have won us the game, but ECD put it 1 mana out of reach, which is a little disappointing. But what can you do? We did the best we could in this situation. They saved their Shrine and their Teferi's Tutelage. Both good picks, honestly. If we draw an Ugin or an Ondu inversion, we can still stabilize from this position. We did not, which is disappointing, but there's a chance our opponent won't have it next turn. I mean, if they get the blue shrine out of their graveyard, that will mill a total of 6 cards with their natural draw, and then they'll just have to do 1 additional draw to mill us out. I think, anyways. Okay, so they got back Stonefangs. I guess my math was wrong. Oh, there it is. Mirror Maid comes down, copies Teferi's Tutelage. Opponent has the 2 mana needed to pay for our Proctor. With the Proctor being paid for, both Teferi's Tutelages trigger. That means we are definitely dead next upkeep. There's no way we're not dead. We play Yasharn here. Yasharn is a very decent card. We have to pay for our own Proctor. We get a Force in our deck. It's a good card to have in the deck. Means we can't do anything else this turn, so we attack in for 3. Their Shrine's probably gonna find... they got the blue one finally. It's a good pickup. Means we definitely die. Then they Genesis Ultimatum. They have 2 mana open, so they can pay for a Proctor trigger if they need to. Looks like they have 2 permanents that would require a Proctor trigger payment. And they pay for the Banishing Light as opposed to Scryland. We die in upkeep. Well, that was game 1. We're going to try out for game 2 here. See if we can get any better results with Yasharn and Taxes in Brawl. Probably a better way to play this. I'm just not the level of understanding to figure that out yet. So I just noticed that Friday Night Magic Omniscience, I think that was Omniscience game? I think that was what it was. Is open at the moment, which is nice. I'll definitely want to play some of that. In fact, after I get these videos edited, that's probably what I'm going to do. Alright, game 2 opening hand. We finally have a Plains in our opening hand. That's a good thing to have. 2 2-drops, both situationally good against certain decks. Against a Torbran deck, the Proctor's probably the better 2-drop to have. So we're going to try to save that for as late as we can into the game. We're playing against a lot of mono red decks They tend to be a very tempo-heavy type of strategy in that they're trying to get enough creatures on the board to kill you. They're trying to get enough spells to burn you out. But they're also trying to clear out your board at the same time. So it means that in the early game, they generally will have more removal to spare than they do in the late game. Which is a good thing for us. Containment Priest, another 2-drop. Probably won't be useful in this particular context, since we're not dealing with a graveyard deck or one of the, what do you call them, ultimatums. Annex comes down. The knight attacks in. We flash in our Containment Priest and block. I guess it's a free kill. Well, because Annex is not as free because there's a satyr that's made off of the kill. We play Redain, God of the Worthy. And we keep our 2 back for blocking. Annex being a 3 toughness creature really makes him hard to attack through. At least for decks like ours that tend to rely on smaller creatures. We'd have to 4 mana, Mangara, the Diplomat, would be a really good addition to the battlefield. Any lifelink against mono red is well worth it. Torbjorn came down. That was good for our opponent. Annex dies, 2 tokens are born. We did not draw a 4th land. Here we opt to foretell a Doomscar. If we can get another white source, which is probably not going to happen with our deck, but if we could technically survive our next turn. Although it's looking rather dire here. We drew a Destructive Mastery. You know, that card that helped us lose the last game. And we conceded out. Thanks for watching, guys. That was game 2. Bye for now.